What's going on, guys? So this is Bhuwan Chauhan here, IFBB Pro, 4 times men's physique Olympian, and today we are shooting a video with Exponent Energy. A little bit talk about what I do for a living, how I got to where I am, and just a little bit of an introduction about my background as well as about Exponent.
How did you discover your passion for bodybuilding, and what motivated you to pursue it professionally?
So I got into bodybuilding at the age of 17 when I just moved to Canada as an international student. I was always into sports, but with my engineering course load, it's just I couldn't really fit in any sports schedule into my lab schedule and my classes. So I found the gym, and the good thing was in my dormitory, the gym was open 24 hours a day, so I could go anytime. So I started training late at night around 10, 11 after my whole day was done, and just fell in love with the process. The more consistent I was, the more results I'd get, and it also was a good balance where I'm always stressed out about my academic load and university stuff and part-time jobs. It used to be my me alone time where I could take out all the frustration, and it just became a lifestyle after that. And when I graduated from engineering school and I went to a job, I wanted a different challenge for myself, and I'm okay, maybe now have the resources, I'm making pretty good money, what's the next step? And men's physique had just come out, so I started competing. I did my first show, I won that. Did my second show, which was provincials. 2 weeks after, I won that as well, and then that's when I decided, I'm okay, maybe I should go for the pro card. So the next year I turned pro, and when I did turn pro, I'm okay, maybe things are getting, people were taking 10 years to turn pro, and for me it was okay, I made a goal, I worked hard, and I definitely have that genetic as well as the work ethic to turn pro. So maybe I can actually go a little bit farther and maybe go to the Olympia and maybe make this as a career. So I made that decision to kind of quit my corporate job a year after and just be all in so that I could focus on competitions. I did 6 shows that year. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was working full time, and that's what that breakthrough year was when I went to the Olympia, and I started getting the exposure, started balancing the social media aspect of things along with competing, and now it's been 5 years and haven't had to look back.
Balancing professional bodybuilding and entrepreneurship is challenging. Can you share your secrets for time management and maintaining focus on both endeavors?
So I think definitely when you're competing and you're going through a prep, it's a lot harder because your energy levels are low. You're spending time 3 hours, 4 hours at the gym, doing 2 hours of cardio, training sessions, all that. So it's a lot more taxing during that time where you want to preserve that energy. But at the same time, there's a balance where you're not on prep and you're in your improvement season, or you're taking a break. You have more time that, okay, you're going to the gym, but you also have the rest of that day to be productive. What you do with those other hours is up to you. For me, I wanted more for myself than just competing and living that bodybuilding life, which is eating your meals. As long as I'm eating my meals, I'm good. So alongside that, I had these other goals, and I'm okay, what more can I do? Can I start a new business? So I started off with coaching, then I started going onto the coaching app, built my own app, then I went on to creating another brand of mine, and having a little bit of a team for social media, and just started giving roles to other people instead of doing everything by myself. So then what happens is when I'm going through a prep, it's a lot easy for me to delegate those responsibilities to other people than always taking the load on myself. And I feel I'm doing it's something I want to get even better at, where if I'm competing, I don't know, 5 to 6 months a year, if my preps are those times, I don't have to worry about I'm losing on that entrepreneurship or the business side of things, and I can keep building more businesses, while at the same time I know that, okay, the rest of those 4 or 5 months I can grow those brands. I can maybe have more employees, maybe have more delegations for the responsibilities. So it creates a good balance. It also keeps me on my toes. At the end of the day, I'm still an engineer, and the brain needs just as much exercise as my body does. So it is a good balance to always have my physically work out, but also at the same time my mind is always working out too.
What's your daily routine encompassing your training, nutrition, and business responsibilities?
So my routine kind of keeps changing between what stage of the prep I'm at. When I'm in my prep mode, closer to a show 6 to 8 weeks out, obviously my focus becomes the prep, recovery, rest, the cardio sessions that I have could be 2, could be 3 a day, and my training. But while I'm not in that prep mode, when I'm in my off season or in between the off season and prep mode, I'm able to balance my life more so with the business side of things. And like I wake up, I'll do my cardio. That never changes. My morning routine is always the same, which is wake up, do your cardio, and then after that, instead of like focusing more so on rest, I'm able to have more energy to delegate more towards working, which could be working on more client plans, or like having a Skype meeting with some of the guys who manage the coaching app. It could be more so about the shipping stuff at the foods business. It's just I'm having more energy to have those 4 or 5 hours a day to delegate to my the business side of things. I would say 7 to 8 months a year, 6 months a year, and the rest of the time it's more so about, okay, I have to have a single track focus. My routine is all about getting my meals at the exact same time, training at the exact same time, making sure I get a nap in between to like power through those hard moments of prep, and do the show, and then get back to like balancing both things. So
can you describe the mental discipline and mindset required to excel in bodybuilding and entrepreneurship?
I feel the discipline that you learn through bodybuilding can be applied to anything in life, including the entrepreneurship, or even if you have a corporate job. At least it helped me a lot. Back when I was a student, I knew that, okay, I have to get this much amount of sleep, I have to eat my meals at these specific times, I have to be organized with my meals, I have to meal prep in advance, I have to always make sure that I know what my day is going to look like. All that discipline, organization kind of like really helped me to have a really good routine when other students didn't have any routine, especially on the weekends. They'll wake up at whatever time, they'll have some time with the friends, and they'll go back to bed at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., whatever. But with the people, like especially with me, like when I had this schedule of working out and eating my meals and doing all of that, every day was very regimented. And I feel like that discipline, I brought it with me to my job. And then the same thing, I brought it into my life when I started being full-time bodybuilder and having these businesses. Because whatever I learned about discipline, self-control, like organization, being regimented, all of that stuff I can utilize in anything, because one of the hardest things in life for any human being is to control their taste buds. But as a bodybuilder, that's the number one thing that you need, which is to control your taste buds. If you can have a control over that, you can have control over anything in life. It makes you so much more mentally stronger that you can take anything on, because you have a control. You know that you cannot, you just cannot skip that beat. Like you cannot be 70% in and expect to be like a professional athlete or a professional bodybuilder. You know you have to be 100% every single day, and that you can use in any other thing. And even when you retire, you have the same discipline. You have the same kind of like mental fortitude that you can use in any aspect of your life. And I feel that's the best part. So things that you learn in bodybuilding can be applied in business, creates that balance of training your body and training your mind.
How do you approach setting and achieving long-term goals in your athletic and business pursuits?
So if I have a long-term goal, I always like to break it down in short-term goals first, so that I don't have to feel overwhelmed with achieving something which is 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the lane. Rather, I focus on the small steps that lead to that big goal. So as long as I'm focusing on those small steps, keeping that long-term goal in mind, I'm doing my job, and it also like doesn't make me as overwhelmed. So I'll always break down whatever, and whether it's bodybuilding, like let's say I want to gain 10 pounds of muscle in 2 years. So I'll break it down into small things. Okay, like what do I need to do in the next 1 month? What do I need to do in the next 2 months? And then that 2-year goal is like, okay, it's going to be broken down. Like, okay, how do I do that? Same thing in business. Like if I want to like expand something, or I want to like have more client base for my coaching app, it's like, okay, so that's my 2-year goal. Like I want to increase from like 200 to like 500 members. But what can I do every single month? Okay, what kind of content can I make in that time frame? What can I delegate the responsibilities? What kind of graphics do I need? As long as I'm focusing on that stuff, that long-term vision is always going to be there, but I don't get overwhelmed or like, oh my God, I'm not getting that 500. Like it's so much harder. It's been 3 months and it's only like 10 more people that I've got. No, it's like, okay, we need to keep that as like a 2-year vision and just focus on those small steps.
Can you share some of the sacrifices you have had to make to reach your level of success in both bodybuilding and entrepreneurship?
I think for bodybuilding, the sacrifices that I had to make were more so about sacrificing the social life, especially in university when your course load is so much and you're always studying and you're doing part-time jobs as well to keep up with the expenses. You don't really have time for that. So you either have time for socializing and having a lot of friends and doing all that stuff, or you have time to like work a lot and just focus on bodybuilding and getting your meals in, getting that rest in, and being regimented every single day. So I chose the latter, which I'm very grateful for, because all of that, what I did 10 years ago, is why I'm able to like make that as a career now. Because if I did do the socializing, if I were hanging out with my friends a lot more, then I wouldn't be able to reach where I am today. So these are like short-term sacrifices you make for, you never know where your life is gonna end up. I never knew that I'm going to be a full-time competitor, bodybuilder, influencer. I never really thought. I went to school for engineering. As far as the business side of things go, you do need that socializing aspect. You do need to network. You do need that. So it's definitely hard to choose, but now after a certain amount of time when you're established, you don't need to like stay isolated. You don't need to create that extreme isolation and sacrificing that aspect, because you know what you need to do to get ahead in that field. You know how to balance everything. You know that you've achieved a certain level, and to get to the next level, you obviously need networking. So that's something that I'm adjusting to now in the last couple of years. And as far as the sacrifice and business side of things go, I think it just takes away that time that you could be enjoying life. So what I mean by that is that, okay, maybe less vacations, maybe less time out, maybe I'm a lot more workaholic in that aspect, that I enjoy working a lot more than going on vacations. So that takes a little bit of a backseat, and maybe that's something you have to sacrifice on. And obviously time for relationships, friendships, parents, stuff like that does take a little bit of a backlog, because you're trying to balance so many extreme things, extreme bodybuilding, competing 5 times a year, 4 times a year, 6 times a year, as well as like trying to have growing your businesses and maybe start launching new ones. It definitely does affect that time for people. Because that networking, the socializing is more so like work-based than personal life-based.
Do you think it's crucial or critical to make those sacrifices in the beginning in order to get to the next spot, to the next step?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like to achieve greatness in anything, it comes with a lot of sacrifices, and it comes with a lot of suffering, and I think those are just prerequisites to success. And definition of success is different for anyone, but I do believe that no matter what your definition of success is, it does come with sacrifices. It does come with a little bit of suffering, and I believe the sacrifices that I made 10 years ago are paying dividends now. So maybe the sacrifices that I'm making now is going to maybe make dividends in 10 years, 20 years, I don't know. At the end of the day, what I've learned over my journey is that whatever sacrifices I made always paid off, maybe not in 1 year, maybe not in 2 years, but definitely after 5, 6, 7 years. So they may or they may not pay off, but at least you have the satisfaction that you did everything you could to achieve your goals.
Nutrition is a critical aspect of bodybuilding. How has your knowledge of nutrition contributed to your success in both areas of your life?
So nutrition is something I had to learn most of it myself. As an international student, my resources were limited. There was not much social media back then. You could only go on forums to learn. I remember I used to like scroll through all the forums to learn as much as possible. Some of the books I read, knowledge was not as accessible as it's now. So it was a lot more trial and error for me. So like, okay, I'll try a certain food recipe or like a food source, and I do that for a couple of months, and I'm like, okay, this is not good, maybe my calories are not enough, maybe my macros are different. So to learn through all of that since pretty much the first day I went to the gym, and that took a lot of time that I could have saved if I was doing that today, if I started my journey today. But at the same time, it made me a better, a more knowledgeable coach and an athlete, because I had to go through all of that for so many years by myself that I'm able to like learn these things better through practical knowledge rather than just theoretical knowledge. And it's helping me now because I can now help other people take off those years that I spent learning about something, so they have that time to focus on maybe their careers, maybe their families, maybe there's something else, but they don't have to use that time and save it for other stuff while they're still accomplishing their goals, and they're cutting that time to get to that physical goal, like their physique goal, maybe in half, maybe like in 1/4. And that's just something that I take a lot of pride in, that I'm able to help those people, and it's through my own experiences and what I learned over these years, over the last decade.
People struggle with work-life balance. How do you maintain a healthy personal life while still excelling in your professional endeavors?
I think, as I talked about it earlier, there has to be some sacrifices made. So I don't think you can have balance if you're obsessed with something. If your obsession is about a goal, whether it's about bodybuilding or it's about a business or it's about a career or it's about school or grades or whatever. If you're obsessed with something, other things are going to take a back seat. So having that balance, I do believe that that extreme obsession comes with those sacrifices that you have to make in the first few years of your goal, so that when you do achieve all of that, when you're at a certain point in your life that, okay, like now you, like for example, you've made bodybuilding your career and now you feel like, okay, now it's your career, you're doing pretty good for yourself, everything's established. Maybe now to sustain that success, to sustain that continued obsession, you can have a balance. You can create that, okay, now I'm at a certain level, I'm happy with myself, and I can now prioritize the relationships, the friendships, the socializing time, like going out, maybe going on vacations. But I do believe in the initial stages of you setting up a goal, you need to be completely, fully obsessed with that to the point that there is nothing else that matters except that vision, that goal, and you're like completely into it.
Building a brand is essential in both bodybuilding and entrepreneurship. What strategies have you used to establish and promote your personal brand?
I think brands come once you have a vision. So creating a brand as a bodybuilder, as an influencer is something that, hey, people can relate to it. People follow you, support you for who you are, for what you represent, for your mindset, for your personality, whatever that is, right? So as long as they can relate to that same thing with your brand, I think you can really scale it up a lot. Whereas if you just focus on like, okay, I want to build a brand first, and then I'll think about what it stands for and everything, it's not going to work out. You have to first focus on what you're good at, like focus on that excellence in the thing that you're passionate about, and let people like you for who you are, what you represent. And once you're there, then you can build those brands up because your brand kind of resonates with who you are. So I think for me, that's definitely been the case over the last decade. Like I first focus on building myself up, showing who I am, what I represent, what my mindset is. And based on that, when people started supporting that, okay, I'm like, okay, my brands represent the same thing. My coaching style is the same style. Everything that I do, it's more so like all about that. So now people can resonate with that and they can support it because they support me as an individual, as what I stand for. So I think that's the better way of doing things than just focusing on like, if I were to go back 10 years and I'm like, okay, I want to build a business, I want to be a coach, I want to do all of this, I may not have been as successful because I'm focusing on the end result instead of the journey of getting better at what I do, what I'm passionate about.
Can you describe a significant setback or challenge you faced in both bodybuilding career and in your personal business career, and how did you overcome it?
So for the bodybuilding, I think my first year when I did go to the Olympia, I had a serious QL injury, I think after my second show. And I kept doing like 3 more shows. By the end of like I did my last show, like I was told by chiropractors that I shouldn't be doing it. I couldn't do my cardio well, like I was in a lot of pain, but I'm like, okay, like this is my last show. Like I did 4 more shows. It was my 5th one. If I don't win this one, then I'll call it quit. But I started something, I have to finish it no matter what. So I made that happen, and it's funny that that's the show that I won and qualified me for the Olympia, and then ended up being the Olympia as well. That was a very hard year because even though I won all of that, it's because I went through all that suffering. I think like that challenge and that manifestation is like, no matter what happens, I'm going to make this happen. Like I'm going to finish the job. It's probably what helped me win that show. And then after that, when I went to the Olympias, where like my whole life kind of like changed and just made this as a career. As far as the business side of things, I haven't really had a lot of those setbacks yet. But in my professional life, when I was an engineer, I think my biggest setback was like when oil and gas was going through a big downturn. Like I was laid off first after 8 months of working, and at the time I was just like, that was the only thing I would really focus on that I really wanted. And I don't have a job, and I'm in a new country, I don't have a permanent residency, I have to get this sorted in the next 2 years. If I don't, then I have to go back, and all that, whatever I did was going to go to waste. And I was a lot of pressure, a lot of all that, self-doubt, stress, frustration, and but eventually just kept trying to get another job, like kept applying, like that was a very difficult time to like get through that. But then ultimately after 8 months, I was able to find a job, I was able to get working again as an engineer. And then once I started doing that, 3 months later I turned pro, because both things kind of like gel together. Like if you're doing well mentally, your body, physically, everything else response to it. So I think that time really helped me, not only in a professional setting, but also helped me like get to this mindset that I can overcome anything as long as you always believe that there are brighter days ahead and you just keep working one day at a time. At some point, you're gonna be able to achieve what you want as long as you're manifesting it well.
Your physique reflects years of dedication. What advice can you give to aspiring bodybuilders on consistency and perseverance in training?
I think the most important thing is enjoying the journey. I would say that that's one thing that I've learned through mine, and I feel a lot of people nowadays are not focusing on that. Back then there was no social media, I wouldn't say that there was a big chance of making fitness as your career, at least not for me or what I saw. So I was doing it just because I enjoyed it. It was like an outlet for me. Like my 1.5, 2 hours time in the gym was something I looked forward to, not because I wanted to be famous on Instagram or take pictures of myself or do photo shoots or compete and think that I'm going to be a pro, but it's just because I love doing that. And I did that for years and years and years, like 7 years before I competed in my first show. And 2-3 years later is when I started like doing this as a full-time, when I thought I can be a full-time bodybuilder. So I think that aspect really helped me. Even to this day, I really enjoy going to the gym, and yeah, it's more pressure now. There are expectations from people for you to do well, your own pressure that you want to do well, keep getting better. But at the end of the day, I still enjoy what I do. And I enjoyed 10 years ago, 11 years ago. So I think that's the most critical thing, to enjoy your journey and not just focus on the result and end result.
The Mr. Olympia competition is incredibly competitive. How do you deal with the pressure and competition in both athletics and business?
So I feel initially when you are just coming up and it's your first Olympia or you're just trying to qualify, you're more like an underdog where nobody really cares about you, and you're just, the only pressure you have is yourself, that hey, you want to accomplish a goal, you want to go to the Olympia. That's the only person that has that kind of expectation from you. So it's a lot easier. And after doing it for a couple of years and you have a big following and you're able to like represent 2 countries, and especially my home country, India, like the fitness is very big there, and we kind of like have these high crazy expectations that, okay, whatever expectation I have to myself, I'm very hard on myself, but it's another like millions of people having that expectation from you adds to that pressure. And it's a very different thing that I had to go through to like kind of get used to it, where it's like, okay, if I don't get to my goal, I'm very disappointed. But now I have to be like, if I don't get to my goal, like I have to be disappointed, but there's also like these a million people that are also disappointed. So they're going to take out that frustration on you. So you don't want to you want to be strong for yourself, that okay, no problem, it's going to take a little bit of time to get to where I want, and I'll work. As long as I'm working, as long as I'm consistent, I'll get to where I want. But you also have to like show it to them. You also have to like tell them that, hey, it's okay, like, it's going to take some time. And it creates a lot of negative emotions in you, a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. And I had to like learn how to block it all out, so that the only pressure I put on myself is my own, and because that's what got me here. That's what made me who I am today. That's why all these people have these expectations. So I need to get back to that. So blocking that noise, blocking that pressure, because at the end of the day, whether you get a lot of appreciation for you achieving something, or you get a lot of hatred for not achieving something, it shouldn't bother you. And that's something that I've learned, that okay, like if someone is appreciating, it's good, but it doesn't really faze me. It shouldn't really feed my ego. As long as I'm happy with what I'm doing. Similarly, if I'm not doing well at something and I'm getting a lot of hate, it shouldn't affect me, because their opinions don't really matter. It's their own. What matters is, what opinion do I have of myself? What goal do I have to accomplish? How much time am I being consistent? Am I giving my 110% effort? As long as I'm doing that, I'm going to get there. If it's not next year, I'll get there in 3 years, because that's what I've learned from all this time that I've spent in this industry. That sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes less time. You just have to stay consistent. And for me, blocking that noise, blocking all of that external pressure has really helped me to ensure that I'm in that best position to do my best. And also that automatically translates into like people being happy, and like, yeah, as long as they're accomplishing a goal, they're also happy and you're also happy.
What role does mentorship play in your journey as a professional athlete and entrepreneur? Have you had any influential mentors in your life?
So mentors play a very important role. They definitely will cut down your time for whether it's bodybuilding or it's business or it's career, whatever it is. It always cuts down your time and effort as long as you're a good mentor. Not everybody is lucky enough to have that. Like for me, the first few years of my bodybuilding, at least up until I went to the Olympia the first time, I didn't really have any mentor in the industry. It was more so the pressure I was putting on myself, more so what I was learning from observing, more so what I wanted from myself and learning through mistakes. I do believe if I had that, it probably would have taken me less time and less effort maybe. And but now I do, so I'm glad that I've been able to like have these mentors now. I have these people that I can always go to that are more experienced than me, that have spent more time in the industry. And in terms of business, same thing. Like if you want to start a business, it always helps having people that are more experienced than you to kind of like mentor you. For me, I didn't really have that in the first few years when I just started coaching. Didn't really, just knew what I had to do, started helping some of my coworkers, and just became a business. And with whatever I'm doing now, I definitely have more connections, more network now to take help from. But I do believe whatever I've established up until like 2-3 years ago was with no mentor. However, I make sure that I'm able to mentor others. So I have a lot of people that I try to mentor that they don't have to work as hard, and they don't have to they can learn from my mistakes. So they don't make the same mistakes, but also at the same time, they also don't take as much time. As long as they're driven, they're ambitious, they have a work ethic, I would love to help as many people as I can, because helping someone else get successful doesn't take away from my success. So that's kind of like my motto, and that's what I like to do. So yeah, mentors always help.
Where do you see yourself within the next 5 years?
I think for me, I definitely want to be a lot ahead in the sport that I'm in. So I would definitely want to be in the top 5, the first call out at the Olympia. That's my bodybuilding goal. I want to keep expanding my businesses. I want to like maybe have more. I want definitely in the next 5 years, I want to have my own gym that I'm working on. So those are some of my goals. My personal goals will involve like definitely having a family in the next five years. I'm getting to that point at 29, so we'll be 24 by that time, so it should be a good time frame. And in terms of financial goals, it's more so just keep continuing what I'm doing and just have more financial security by establishing more businesses.
When you told your parents that you wanted to pursue a life of entrepreneurship, what were their thoughts on it? Were they a little bit hesitant? Were they all for it?
So when I told them I want to be a full-time bodybuilder instead of being an entrepreneur, it was more so like I want to just rely on sponsorships, and I had none. I didn't even have a social media at the time. I probably had like 500 followers when I made that decision. I just had this belief that if I give my 100% to this, I was able to turn pro while balancing so many things. If I can just be 100% about this field, I think I can go far. I think I can make it a career. I just had that belief. So when I spoke to my parents, I just explained that to them. Like, I just feel like I need this. I need this for 2 years. So I gave them a timeline. I gave myself a timeline. I'm like, if I fail in 2 years, I don't think I want to keep continuing this, because I was making no money. So it's like whatever savings I had will probably just last me like 2 years. So I was basing it off of that. Okay, if I have to go all the way through, how long can I last with the resources that I have? That was 2 years. So I did the calculations. I'm like, okay, let's make it happen. And because I was kind of desperate too, that I have to make it happen, otherwise I have to go back to this engineering field that I don't really enjoy as much. They believed it. They're like, okay, as long as you're making a calculated risk, we're all for it. And I knew it in my back of the mind that I'm making a calculated risk. I'm not just going in blindly. And yeah, like I think it was 8 months or 9 months in that I started making some money out of sponsorships, some little bit from coaching. Just kind of scaled it up and worked super hard to get to the Olympia the next year. And when I did that, like everything just kind of like blew up, and never had to look back.
Finally, what message or piece of advice would you like to share with others who aspire to excel in multiple areas of life just how you have?
As I said earlier, it's more so just enjoying what you do. So this is a quote, I said it in my TED talk on disruption. Find your passion, make it your purpose, and that eventually one day will become your profession. So I truly believe in that, and it all comes down to finding your passion, because that's how you're gonna wake up every single day to be at your 100%. That's what's gonna like make you fight through all the obstacles life throws your way. Life's not easy for nobody, And having that passion will always fuel you to face all these obstacles from different aspects of life. So at the end of it, I do believe that if somebody's looking to if somebody's not enjoying what they do, the first step should be finding your passion. Try different things, try new things, try as many things as you can, especially when you're young. And then when you find something that really fuels you, be obsessed with it. And when you're obsessed with that passion, there is no way in today's world that you cannot make it your profession. And that way you will never have to work a day in your life, because you are working, you're not even working, you're just enjoying what you're doing, and it's giving you a certain pay. And I think at the end of the day, like, that's what everybody really wants.
I love that.
Yeah. So my name is Bhuwan Chauhan. I am with Exponent Energy. Make sure you guys check out their page on Instagram, Drink Exponent, as well as on Amazon, as well as their website. We are available in Canada as well as US now. So make sure you guys check it out and let us know your thoughts. Oops. That'll make a good blooper.